Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Claire. If you didn't know, well, now you do know. So today I have a very special video. I'm actually going to be interviewing my good friend Josie, and she wrote a book called Finding Annevra, and there's going to be like more books. You'll know more as like we do the interview and I talk to her about her upcoming adventures with her book that she wrote. But I just wanted to have a little quick intro. I'm doing this intro like way later at night. I am so sorry. The sun's gone down. I was really fighting with time, but I have a little ring light in the back. I hope that it's not like too bad quality back there. I'll have my glasses so I can't even see if I'm in focus. Let's just pray to the Lord Jesus that I am. I guess that's kind of all I have to say. Continue and just keep watching, please, and like and subscribe if you like this kind of style video, and let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, so please welcome Josie on my channel, and I'll have all of her Instagram, social medias, where you can buy the book if you find it interesting, on in the description down below. And if you have any questions for Josie, go ahead, slide into her DMs. And also, if you want to ask me any questions, feel free to just comment, and I'll get back to you very, very soon. Let's just get right into the interview. Thank you again, Josie, for coming up on my channel and spending some time with me.
Called the same thing. It was called like Annevra Waiting. And I picked that because at the time, I was like 13, and I wrote like a 17 chapter, like really badly written manuscript. And at the time I was like super fascinated by Atlantis. Like I watched the movie, I think it's just called Atlantis on Disney Channel. Yeah. I watched that, super fascinated by it. So I started doing all this like research about it to see if it could be real. And I wanted to, at the time, also, I guess this also goes back to my inspiration with writing it. I was reading so much fan fiction, and obviously that's all like lovey-dovey, like romantic stuff. Yeah. So I was reading all this fan fiction, and then I was like researching Atlantis and other like weird conspiracies. So I wanted to write a book about a lost civilization, but I didn't want it to be Atlantis because then, like, there's all these things about Atlantis that like people could be like, oh, that's not true, even though like it technically didn't really exist. But I wanted to basically make it my own thing. So I came up with the word Annevra to kind of be like a metaphor for Atlantis, if that's the right word, like basically represent Atlantis, but not the Atlantis.
Okay. I don't know, it's a really pretty name. Like, I feel like it's really good. Like, I would name my daughter that. I think Annevra is like a really pretty name. I was like, how did she come up with that? Yeah, so that's cool. That's interesting. So what inspired you, like, to write the book in the first place? Like, and re-pick it up after your manuscript when you were younger writing it?
After I wrote that 17 chapter manuscript, I think I just got really, like, I don't want to say busy in my life because I was like 14, but I just, I started dating my first boyfriend after that. So I just like put it on the back burner for a while, and I would always think back to it for years after that and always want to like rewrite it. And I always felt like that's such a huge thing to do, like actually write like a professional book that people would actually read. So I think I psyched myself out of it a lot, and I just stopped writing. And for me, when I'm not writing on a daily basis, it's really hard to get back to it and to really like, I feel like when I write, I get into like a flow state. And if I'm not doing it every day, it gets really hard to sit down and do it again for like a day at a time. So finally, after it being on the back burner for years, actually when I got sick, like for your viewers, I had an autoimmune disease, and it ended up putting me out of work for like a few months in when did I write it? In 2017. So that was when I really got back into working on it. And somehow I wrote like a good majority of it in those 3 months. Like I I used some of what I had written years before, but to be fair, like most of it was just completely rewritten. But I started with that foundation and I rewrote most of it in like a 3 or 4 month period. And yeah, it was just because I had like so much time on my hands, and luckily it ended up being something that was like good enough to be a novel. At that time though, like I did definitely need to edit it a lot more, and I definitely made the mistake of putting it out a little bit too soon. So like luckily after that, I ended up like publishing the second edition, and that's the like fully like complete one that you can buy now.
Okay, so you like changed all of your into like a final draft, so now when you order it will be like a different, is it a different cover?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you the new one too with the new cover. I feel bad for everybody that has the one with the old cover, but that was like the best I could do at the time because I self-published it, which I have no problem telling people. Um, but my fiance's brother, for viewers, he's an artist and he like made me new covers for that one and for the new one, and they like match each other now. So yeah, anybody that orders it now, it'll be the new cover.
Okay, cool. Would you change anything about the book?
I don't think so. I think the only thing I would have changed is to have sat on the manuscript for a little bit longer and edited it for maybe like a few months longer than I did, because there's always something that you can improve and change. But in terms of the storyline, there's really not anything I would have changed with the first book. The second book, it's definitely still in the works right now. But the first book, no, I can't say I've really changed anything thinking back.
Okay. Yeah, I think that like the book flows like so well for me. It's like I can't have like any sort of coherent thoughts if I'm writing it down. And so I'm like, how does someone like write a whole book and make it like flow so well? I think you just did such a good job at doing that. Like,
Oh, thanks.
yeah, you're welcome.
There's this quote by Stephen King. It's like it's something like books are like channeled from an unseen world or something like that. And that's almost like I totally knew what he meant when I read that. I don't know, like sometimes I feel like I'm literally just like getting the story from somewhere else, because it only happens when I write every day that I'm like, I get right into that state where I can just write. Otherwise, it's like pulling teeth. Like it's not easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like definitely a skill I think most people don't have. So that's cool that you do.
Thanks.
Okay, so what made you change the POV when like you get to part two? Like why is the POV like only Lucy's and then you change it to Grant's?
So I knew Grant was going to be a pretty prominent character, and at the time, so the part where it changes point of views, I felt like having Lucy hear about everything that happened in retrospect and keeping it in her point of view wouldn't have been as effective. And then there are certain things that you need to learn from Grant's point of view. So that's really why. And I also wanted Grant to be a more significant character than just like this guy Lucy's interested in. And I feel like from his point of view too, you also learn more about Jason, and serves its purpose. Actually, in the second book, without saying too much, he's like a huge. If Lucy's like the prominent person in the first book, he's the prominent like point of view in the second book for sure.
Oh, that is awesome. He's like my favorite, and Jason, like I don't know, I just have like a weak point for like Grant and Jason. I really like them as characters.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, so will there be a sequel? You just said that there will be. Will there be more than two or just the two, you think?
I think there'll definitely be at least 3. With the sequel, so just for your viewers, I had written the sequel and I thought it was done, and then luckily I sat on it for a little bit and realized that like I could improve it a lot. So it's not coming out yet. It's probably going to take at least another 6 months to a year. So, okay. So when I initially wrote the sequel and I thought it was done, I was thinking there would only be one more book. But with the way that I'm fleshing out the second book now, I think there could probably be 4 or 5 books.
Okay.
I know, I know how it's going to end, but I think it's going to take longer than I thought to get to that point.
Okay. That's cool. That's awesome. Like, I would be super into, like, having a whole series. Like, that's so cool. Well, I'm excited to see, like, what you have, like, building up and, like, brewing. So, yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Okay. Since you live on Long Island and Stranger Things were, like, I think inspired by something that, like, happened on Long Island, is that where you see the setting of, like, all of the series taking place? Or no?
Yeah, so there's subtle hints at the fact that it takes place on Long Island. I think at one point they reference Beyonce, which is a town on Long Island. And I think they also reference West Hampton, which is like out east where like the rich people live.
Yeah.
And so it takes place there. I mean, I did want to write it so you can kind of envision it anywhere, but if people wanted to know the technical place where I picture it taking place, it is Long Island.
Okay, cool. If you were to like make this into a movie or like a TV show, who do you want like Lucy and Grant and Jason to be played by? If you could imagine anybody like living in your brain, who would it be?
I've thought a lot about this, and I don't know if I'm just like out of touch with pop culture now, but I know my like ideal people, but they might just not be the age that they should be. But like ideally, either for Lucy, I was thinking the girl, this is if you're looking for people that are just that are like the age that she would be. Let's say the girl that played Sabrina in the new Sabrina series. I can't remember her name, but like the perfect person who like looks the most like her in my opinion, because I also don't like giving people a really like specific mental image, but Evan Rachel Wood in Across the Universe, which like weirdly, if people have seen Across the Universe when they read my book, her name is literally Lucy, and I swear to God that I wrote the book before I watched Across the Universe, and it just happened to work out really well that she like really looks like Lucy in Across the Universe. So for Lucy and Across the Universe, like the spit an image of the way Evan Rachel Wood looked in that movie. And then Grant Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay. I totally see that.
Like I kind of picture him differently, but in terms of finding someone that looks a lot like how I picture him, it would be Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
And Jason, the only person I could really think of, because I can't remember the guy's name. I feel like he played Bane in one of the Batman movies. Tom Hardy, I think.
Yeah.
But like with her hair. Kind of like that, but like I picture him as having a broader face, but still, if you're just looking for an actor that kind of looks like him, either that or like I would say him and like a cross of like Heath Ledger maybe when he was younger.
Okay. That's cool. Okay. So like when I think of Lucy, I think of like, oh man, I forgot her name. Like Dakota Fanning. I don't know why, but like I see her playing Lucy so well. I don't know why, but like I see her playing Lucy so well. I don't know, like a young person. I think I only watch like TV shows that were airing like 5 years ago, so I'm also not into like super pop culture-y things, so I don't know someone that would be like young, but if I think of Lucy, I think of like Dakota Fanning.
I could totally see that. That also works really well.
Yeah. And then Jason, I don't know. I kind of picture him as like your fiance, like Orion. I kind of see him as like Jason. Like I feel like that would be like a really good image of like who I see in my brain, but he was not like an actor. But
I know what you mean. I could see that too. Yeah.
Right? Like I just feel like the presence. Like, I don't know. When I read him, I'm like, did she like think of Ryan when she was writing him?
That's fine. I didn't, but I had a friend who I didn't even do this intentionally, but he was like always super into e-cigs. I'm not friends with this person anymore. I was friends with him when I was like with my ex, but he was into like e-cigs and like computer programming. He looks nothing like I pictured Jason, but I feel like I like channeled his personality a little bit with writing Jason. So in a way, I don't know, maybe he is a cross between like this person that I knew a long time ago and Ryan, maybe.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I forgot one more question. So, inspired like the characters, like were there any of the real life people that inspired like Lucy or Grant or Jason, or no, not really?
So, as I said before, I started writing really crappy fan fiction when I was like 8 or 9, and I had developed the characters Grant and Lucy from like starting to write my own like original stories back then when I was maybe like 9 or 10 years old. And I honestly can't remember. Like I've had them, they've just been like characters. It's going to make me sound crazy, but they've just like been characters that I've like had developed in my mind for so long that they kind of took on their own personalities. So back then I can't even say that there's anybody that sticks out to me that they were based on. There's nobody that sticks out in my mind, but I feel like in a way all of them are kind of different aspects of my personality. And then on top of that, there are different people who like I've taken traits from that I put into the characters. But I can't say really the only character that I think I really like, Anna. If you remember, she's like a really small part. I really like channeled my resentment for somebody and like the crappy things they did character. But again, even like her character was already made up when I was like 12, so there wasn't really anybody I was basing it on back then. Really, I feel like the characters took on more of the traits of people that I knew when I rewrote it in 2017.
Okay, that's cool though. I think like, I don't know, it takes like a lot to write like a whole book, and I think you did such a good job. So I don't know, I'm proud of you.
Thanks. I'm so happy that you liked it. That really, I'm telling you, made my day hearing that.
Oh, I was just taken to like, I don't know, such a like adventure, and I was like, kept forgetting that it was you that wrote it, and I was like, oh my god, Josie wrote this. Like, I don't know, I was always taken back, like when I read like the first part, like almost in like a sitting, like the first like 100 pages, and I was like, oh my god, Josie wrote this, like, but I think that's super awesome. But let people know where they can like follow you and get the book. I'll have all those links down below. But
so if you look up, it's called the Lucy Divine series. So if you look that up on Google, it should be the first thing that comes up. And then I have a YouTube channel and a TikTok where it's called Josie Leader, but it's spelled Li3Der. It's kind of confusing. But I talk about my book on there on my YouTube channel. I did read the first chapter if like people want to go there and just listen to see if they're interested in purchasing it. And then yeah, you can get it on Amazon and you can also buy it from Barnes and Noble.
okay, that's cool. And I'll have all of like that stuff linked down below as well. So if anybody wants to check Josie out, go ahead and check her out.
I did want to tell you, I don't think this will take too long because I know we're running out of time, but I figured you'd find this really funny. So one of my friends read it and she read Jason at first as this like huge outcast, and which he is, but she was like, wait, I was reading his like his character description, like his physical description in whatever chapter it is. And I was like, wait, he's really hot. I thought he was like gross. And she said it just like that. And I just thought it was really funny because I don't know, it's cool to see people like personifying the people in the book.
Yeah, like it's so odd because I feel like it just like takes you on like an adventure, and then I, like, halfway through, I'll be like, oh, like, I don't know, I see Grant, like, this way. Then I'm like, I don't think she described him this way, but I'm just gonna go with it with my brain that it's this way.
And that's fine too. My one friend actually, a different person was like, yeah, I pictured Grant as like being black. And I was like, okay, go for it. That's
Yeah.
fine.
That's fine. That's cool. That's exciting. Well, Josie, thank you for coming on here and talking and having a little interview with me. It was really nice having you on here. I will have everything, I guess, linked down below, like I said. No, guess that's it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on.